None dare call it conspiracy, and many, many others like Cleon Skousen's The Naked Communist, and then reading the New American Magazine predicting what the world government would look like from their own documents and getting heavily into the UN's library and thinking, man, this is really fantastical. This is really totalitarian. This is really transhumanist. This is incredibly dangerous and looks like Brave New World. And then I read Brave New World. Then I read Brave New World Revisited, which is nonfiction. And there was Aldous Huxley, whose brother founded the UN, Julian Huxley, and was the head of the World Eugenics Society and later the first transhumanist, saying in the 50s, we're going to end the sexes, break up the families, and turn humans into factory farm-produced creatures that we control.
The globalists have already clearly telegraphed that they are behind an inevitable black swan event, and the rabbit hole is deep.
But we also have to look ahead, because you know what? Our opponents certainly are. Right-wing extremists already have a plan to literally steal the next presidential election. And they're not making a secret of it.
Larry Fink of BlackRock sent a letter out to the world saying that ESG is a priority for the asset manager and really was looking to encourage companies to embrace ESG.
I believe there will be a future, Eric, that all investments are going to be looked through sustainability.
The concept of providing Canadians with a universal basic income has sparked significant debate on if UBI is a viable solution for ensuring financial security.
The EU is investigating Elon Musk's X, formerly known as Twitter, while the bloc's regulator is probing the social media platform for its suspected failure to counter illicit content and disinformation, a lack of advertising transparency, and what it calls a suspected deceptive design of the user interface.
And of Homeland Security, the FBI, and law enforcement in the U.S., they're not a company founded by Americans, by the way. They're all like veterans and still active, more or less, of Israeli intelligence services. And they basically conducted these simulations of what types of hacks and events, cyber attacks, could trigger the cancellation of a U.S. presidential election and the declaration of martial law.
So remember how I said earlier in this speech that the farmers need to give up their farms before 2030, specifically that year? Yeah, so that's not a coincidence. That year doesn't come out of nowhere. So that year is basically the deadline that our global elites have given our country and will probably give you to abide by these new regulations. And that agenda is called the 2030 Agenda.
And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
He's talking about us essentially giving up individual national sovereignty and giving up individual freedoms and turning over rule to experts. The Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, this whole agenda is to make it so we have no choice on some of the biggest questions of our lives. But all of this is happening because at these meetings like the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, they meet and they work with government corporate collusion to bypass democracy. And in a simple sentence, the Great Reset is basically making the once free West copy the same model as one-party Chinese authoritarian rule. That is the Great Reset. They bypass democracy and impose stuff through this corporate government fascism, and we get told what's happening. We don't get to vote on it. There's no hearings in Congress. There's no town halls. There's no switchboards lighting up for a big vote. None of it. We're just told that the car's gone. Your meat eating's going. Yeah. We're creating energy shortages. You're sorry you need a vaccine to go into this place. Sorry your schools are closed. Sorry your churches are closed. What, huh? How did that happen?
The objective is to quickly recognize the potential of new technologies, as well as develop the necessary ethical and political frameworks around those new technologies to ensure that those technologies are human-centered and society-oriented.
Unfortunately for this club of doom-addicted would-be murderous tyrants, Pandora's box has been opened, and we know exactly who opened it. John Bound reporting.